A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
It's Thursday. Stephen Carleton, First Vice President Janney Montgomery Scott, here with our weekly look at finance. I have been waiting for this segment ever since the federal government shut down.
Oy, yes.
Because I know you've got a lot to say, and our pre-prep for this segment, if we could air that, we'd still be on air tonight at midnight.
Oh, it's such an interesting thing. Everybody's talking about it.
A lot going on. Of course, if you don't know the government shutdown, you're living under a rock. It's day 3 of the great government shutdown of 2013.
Yes.
All about healthcare.
Or is it?
Well, it potentially is if you listen to the politicians or the media cycle.
You know, this is, in my opinion on this, David, and I'm just going to throw it out there, is this is something that's been building for years now.
Yeah.
And both parties have been becoming more adamant about getting what they need to get and less willing to find some sort of common middle ground. There used to be a series of politicians on both sides of the aisle that would find a way to come together, and they would do something that, you know, is a word that we don't hear very often anymore in the White House or in Congress or in Wall Street, less and less there too, is the word compromise.
Okay.
There needs to be some compromise. And the Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act, is just, I think it's the straw that's breaking the camel's back.
And we've been talking about this. Obviously, we get a little more opinionated in this, our personal opinions. You know, healthcare, it's what they're hanging this thing on. I'm not sure if it is the have-all and end-all of this, but it really is the issue that is dividing both sides.
Yeah, you know, there's, you know, we watch this, and you watch all the major, you know, mediums that are reporting on this, and there doesn't seem to be a clear solution. It doesn't seem a way out for either side in this situation, because both are saying it's my way or the highway. We have to get what we want, and if we don't get what we want, we're not going to participate in compromise. That's a very difficult way to do that, and I know, you know, Washington's famous for this kind of hubbub, you know, back and forth, but it's not productive.
All right, let's talk about the economic impact on this, if there is an economic impact. Government shut down for 3 days. The first shutdown in what?
Since the 90s, mid-90s.
Since the 1995, I think it was, the mid-90s, which is what you said. Is there an economic impact to this government shutdown?
You know, the economic impact can be summed up really in one word. It's uncertainty. And we're 3 days in, and so it's very difficult to quantify what the actual economic impact is in the last couple days. But the economic impact of the uncertainty that this nation is projecting globally is very, very costly. And it's not something that we'll feel necessarily in a day or a week, but the reverberations of that behavior that the world is seeing as the global leader and the global reserve currency causes a lot of nations and a lot of investors to be very nervous.
Yeah, you got to think there's a ripple effect to Europe, which is also struggling. Their economy is also struggling. When you see the most powerful nation in the world that can't get their act together in Congress, and they're bickering with each other over something that is common in other countries where there is universal health care for folks, they're looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute, if they can't get their act together on this, it really will have a ripple effect towards us.
Yeah, I think that definitely when we look at this over the next week or two, that there's got to be some coming together. But the big concern is this, is should it be delayed a little bit and resolve, you know, get through some of these bugs that are an issue? Is there a bigger problem that this isn't actually affordable to pull off? You know, the idea in and of itself, I think most people on the left and the right do agree with it. I think most people on the left and the right do agree with the value of having universal health care, that people that can't afford it do get a reasonable degree of coverage. And I think, you know, we've joked and talked and, you know, bantered back and forth about the need for that.
Yeah.
I think the problem is that maybe there needs to be a little bit more middle ground about how we go about doing that.
Yeah.
Because fiscally, right now, with the economy as weak as it is and as such an important inflection point, we have to be very careful about any additional expenses that we take on as a government.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would deny that I personally feel it's a right for everybody to have health care. And so I don't think that anybody is denying that. It's just perhaps the way we're going about it. Yeah. You say the thing that we should be watching more importantly is the October 17th deadline for the debt ceiling.
This is huge. The U.S. has a debt obligation to the world, to individual investors, to pensions, and that's through the U.S. Treasury. And so what the October 17th represents is we have to be able to pay our bills. We have to be able to have the cash flow to do that. Both sides of the aisle have to come together and get this extended. They've extended it before when things weren't yet resolved. We need to do it again. I think both sides, when it comes right down to the wire, I think they'll extend it. But the sooner we extend it, the better. Yeah. Because the closer we get to the 17th, the more nervous the economy is going to be, the more nervous investors are going to be. So I don't think that we should play a game of chicken with this. and push it right to the very end. It's better to get this extended, even if it's for a month or 3 months, which I think is becoming more and more likely. That will take some of the pressure off.
And we're seeing the markets are down, the dollar is down. Is this already an indication of this debt ceiling debate to come, or is this because of the shutdown? You know,
there's a whole host of opinions out there, and probably most of them are right, because it is a cumulative effect. The uncertainty, the difficulties in the economy, the increase in taxes, you know, the employment, all those things are weighing on the economy. And so that's reflective of the stock market. It's reflective of the debt market. It's reflected in the currency. So, you know, having the currency go from 84, 85 cents down below 80 cents this week is a reflection of the fact that there's uncertainty and nervousness. And no one likes to have those feelings. So that's what we've got to focus on, is getting past that. Because otherwise, anything else when we go to talk about the economy or the market or where stocks are going to go, really is just talk until we get some clarification on these other bigger, more important issues.
The one thing that's for sure, there's going to be a lot of debate about this. We're day 3 into the shutdown, day 3 into the healthcare exchanges being open, and I know if our office is any indication, we're talking about it every day as folks look at this websites and try to figure out what healthcare coverage is available, and also the ongoing battle in Washington about repealing it or keeping it going.
Yeah, millions of people across the country are going to be signing up for this. It's going to be something that we're going to have to work on. It's not over, and you know, the next week or two, it's going to become even more important.
All right, cutting through a little bit of the noise on this. If we could tape our conversations before the news and air them, as I said, we'd still be here at midnight tonight talking about this. A really interesting issue for us to be discussing, and perhaps if Washington did a little more of that, we may not be in the situation.
We've got to talk to our congressmen and women, get out there and put some pressure on our politicians as individuals. No doubt.
All right, Stephen Carleton, First Vice President Jenny Montgomery Scott, our Thursday appointment. Thank you, as always. It's a pleasure. Now, to see this segment and all our segments, head to looktvonline.com. We post them there weekly for you to check out for a second time. And of course, you can comment on the video as well and get your oar in the water.